Mike Rayburn is a 2-time TED Talk presenter, a successful entrepreneur, a member of the Speaker Hall of Fame. One of my personal dreams someday, oh yes, and creator of the What If Weekend. He has headlined his own show on the Las Vegas Strip and received standing ovations at all 8 of his performances in Carnegie Hall. Please welcome Mike Rayburn. Woo! Woo! Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Woo!
You guys are awesome. That wasn't my wife. So let me ask you, are you living by default or are you living by design? There's a guy named Kris Kristofferson, one of the great songwriters of the 20th century, okay? But that wasn't his original plan. His plan was set for him. From a long generations, he is from a family of military heroes. And this was the design for him. And being a good son, he followed that design. He was a Rhodes Scholar. He studied at Oxford. He enlisted in the Army. He became a prodigy helicopter pilot. And his future was set by everyone except him. Have you been there? Yeah. And you know what that's like? Okay. Well, he knew that there was something wrong with that. So he did the unthinkable. He gave it all up. He moved to Nashville, Tennessee. He got a job as a janitor in a recording studio and started writing songs. Okay? Wow. So having been a staff songwriter for Sony Music Publishing in Nashville, I know how this works. And what you do is you write songs and you try to get them recorded by a major artist. The challenge was Kris was trying, and he could not get anyone to listen to his songs. So again, he got a little bit bold and tried something a little bit different. I'm not suggesting you should do this, but here's what he did. You can Google it. This is true. He stole a helicopter. He flew it to Johnny Cash's ranch and landed in the backyard. Yeah, yes. Johnny tells the story that he thought it was landing on the roof. So Johnny and his wife June look out the back door and they said, this guy gets out of the helicopter. He's got long hair, a beer in one hand, and a tape in the other. And he walks up to the back door and Johnny said, I'll listen. And guess what? Johnny's next hit was Sunday Morning Coming Down, which was written by Kris Kristofferson. He went on to write Me and Bobby McGee, For the Good Times, Help Me Make It Through the Night. He then became a famous actor, and he lived a life that he had designed. So let me ask you again, are you living by default or are you living by design? The fact is, most of us, most people in this world are living lives that they did not design. So let's explore that a little bit. Is your daily routine stale, something that you've become way too used to? Are there dreams that you had as a kid that you always wanted to follow but you never did? Are you stuck in your career if you're trying to get to that next level and you just can't do it? Have you been there? Okay. Maybe there's a ministry or a charity that you want to start. Or are you living by someone else's prescription for your life and not your own? If you answered yes to any of these, guess what? The What If Weekend is for you. We designed this just for you. This is something that my wife Kimberly and I do a few times a year. We're going to what if your life. What we're going to do is we're going to disrupt your routine. We're going to break a few rules, and we are going to what if everything. What if you could do this? What would it look like? I know you never have before. Well, what if we did? What if we were able to make all of this work? It's divided into 3 immersive days. The first day is discovery. We're going to find out what you truly want, who you truly are. The next day is disruption. We're going to go deep. We're going to get into the woods. We're going to discover who you are truly deep down on the inside. And the third day is design. We're going to take everything that we've learned and we're going to design the life that you've truly wanted to live that you're not living yet. Does that sound interesting? That's cool. Well, let me tell you about some of the people who have actually participated in this because we've been doing this for a little while. Marilyn Sherman is a professional speaker who was stuck in her career. She enrolled in the What If weekend. We went through the what if process, and we identified that the goal that she most wanted, she didn't realize this when she walked in, the goal she most wanted that would have the greatest transformational effect on her career was to lose 60 pounds. As of today, she's lost 72 pounds. Her career has transformed. She has not only gone to the next level since then, but another level past that. She's truly thriving, and she will credit the What If weekend. Cherie Rowe was an out-of-work piano player in Las Vegas. She had an 18-month-old child, and she had a bunch of friends who were all saying, you got to give up on that dream. You got to get a job and just support your family, right? You've been there? You've heard that before, right? Yeah. Well, she enrolled in the What If weekend. We went through the What If process, and we identified that what she really wanted to do was to study piano on the highest levels, to tour the world as a professional pianist, and to make that her living. Well, we enrolled her in the process. We went through this. Cherie got accepted to the Juilliard Professional Studies at Lincoln Center. She moved her family to New York. She graduated. She toured the world as accompanist for Kari Joyner, who's a famous cellist. She is now a professor at Juilliard. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, Preston was a factory worker in Nebraska. When we were on the phone talking about it, what resonated most with him was when I said, are you living by default or living by design? Because he realized he was living completely by default. So we enrolled him in the process. We went through everything that we do. And he identified that what really jazzed him, his true passion, he's a woodworker. He was a prodigy woodworker. So we created the plan. He created a business to where now he can either be a woodworker or a factory or whatever. He's got total freedom to do what he does, and he's doing what he longs to do. That is the power of the What If weekend. Now, I am blessed with having been a successful keynote presenter. So you might wonder, okay, so why are you doing this What If weekend? Let me tell you about that. Growing up, my best friend is a guy named Toby. Toby and I did everything together. We learned to play guitar together. That's been integral to my career. All the first shows that I did, Toby and I did together. We played in our tree fort for the neighborhood kids. We played for our 4th grade class, okay? And exploring and hiking, we consider ourselves the Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn of Edsel Park, Virginia, right? We were inseparable. On July 28th, 1977, Toby and I were on the first day of a 3-day bicycle trip through Western Virginia. It was a sweltering hot day. We had ridden 70 miles, and we were about just a few miles from Winchester, Virginia, our destination for the first day. As we were riding, we crossed a creek, and I had recognized the name of the creek as one my family had canoed a year earlier. And so I turned around and yelled that to Toby. And in the next few seconds, 3 things happened in quick succession. I heard a crash, a skid, and then I felt this enormous force behind me, lifting me up and forward and into the air. I evidently blacked out because I don't remember this, but I clearly hit the highway hard on my left side, which is proven by the scars. I evidently bounced up because the next thing I actually remember was running along the highway trying to catch my balance. And I looked back, and Toby, who had been behind me, landed in front of me in a tangle of limbs and bicycle. He hit, and blood ran down the highway, just streaming. We'd been hit by a car going 65 miles per hour. I was dazed. I was in shock. And it took me a moment to clear my head. And then I looked at Toby, and I was a Boy Scout, and I remembered first aid. So I ran over to him, and I listened to his chest, and his heart was still beating, which was actually a surprise to me because I had a bad feeling about it. I tried to clear his mouth out, to clear his airway, get the blood and chewing gum and out of his mouth. I remembered the old phrase, if he's red, lift his head. If he's pale, lift his tail, right? So I lifted his head, and I did the best I knew how to do to help him and hold him until the ambulance got there. They brought 2 ambulances. But I insisted on riding in the front seat of the one with Toby in it. So we got in, and they turned on the lights, they turned on the siren, and we left. And we're driving, and then they turned the sirens off, and they turned the lights off. And I thought, what? No. And I now knew what I had suspected. He was gone. He had actually passed away back on the highway while I was holding him. A few hours later, the state police took me back to the scene of the accident to help them reconstruct what had happened. And so I told them the best I remembered of where I was, where Toby was, what happened and everything. And the state trooper afterwards looked at me and he said, that's what we thought. There's just one thing that does not make sense. There is no reason you should be alive. Which ironically meant the exact opposite. There's very definitely a reason I'm alive. Of all the crazy things that were going on that day, when the two ambulances had arrived and we were standing there, they were loading Toby, there was a car that had stopped on the highway and had the door open, and the radio was playing, and it was playing the only music I remember from that day. It was a Fleetwood Mac song, and of course I think God knew that music was the way to speak to me. And what it was playing was, don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop. It'll soon be here. It'll be better than before. Yesterday's gone. Yesterday's gone. On the drive back home, I thought through everything that had happened, and I made a choice that has shaped and changed my life to this day. I decided that I would rather live passionately, risking dying to make every moment count like Toby, my hero, did, than live playing it safe, pleasing others, worried about what's happening next. You see, fear is temporary. Regret is forever. So that's why I do what I do. It matters to me. My gift is exhortation. It matters to me that the people around me do better. And that is why we created the What If Weekend. If any of this resonates with you, if you are ready to stop living by default and start living by design, your design, the What If Weekend is for you. Call me and let's talk about it. Thank you.